All right, what an exciting day, exciting week for us. Right in front of us, a championship moment to be able to attack this, and the guys are excited about it. Had a great day of work. Going back into our film session right now to make sure we're just crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and getting ready for this weekend.
Have you guys looked at any of those playoff scenarios that have been floating around with who has to win, who can clinch?
Yep. We're aware of all those scenarios, and it's a pretty simple path. We got to handle business and win the game, and that's got to be our focus first and foremost. And a team that I really respect and that we just played a couple weeks ago. So we have to approach this thing like we didn't just play them. Don't take anything for granted. Make sure we're on the details, and all the other scenarios will play out how they will. I was watching the game last night. I watch every game on Monday night, and in this one right here, it's got implications. But at the same time, the focus has to be there for us to be able to handle business and play our best ball.
Rico was a DMP.
Yeah.
Can you give us an insight on what?
Yeah, he's got a sore toe. Came out of the game a little bit more sore than normal, and so we just decided to give him a rest day. And I'm pretty confident that he'll be able to go, but we got to just take it day by day and see what he can do tomorrow.
Claudin.
Yeah, Claudin, same thing, day to day. We got to evaluate all these guys, coming out of the game, with a little bit of a re-aggravation of his ankle. So we just got to see if we can get him out there and get him working.
How difficult is it to beat a team twice in this short of a span? Like, what are the positives and negatives of facing them again that quickly?
Yeah, the challenges are that, you prep for the first time you're playing a team and you try to throw your best plays at them. Some things with a degree of success, some things that they play well, really in all phases. And so as you circle back around, you look at some of those plays and say, okay, how can we, doctor this one up a little bit and try to present it differently to hit the same type of voids or get the same type of matchups. So on the flip side of it, for both teams really collecting information, looking at there's one game in between. Was there any shift? Was there any change? What happened last year when we played them the second time? Was there a difference in style? And we have to take all those things into consideration.
Dave, in 2010, when you first got to Seattle, you had kind of a season like this where it came down to the wire. It was a win-in game. You guys ultimately won, led to the Beastquake game, and you guys were actually able to make some noise in the playoffs. What did you learn from that experience about getting that home game to start if you guys break through, and how important that first home game is in the regular season, in the postseason?
It really is a gift when you win the division to be able to host that first one, and we hosted the defending Super Bowl champs, the New Orleans Saints, who had to go all the way across the country to come play us at 7-9. But what I learned about that group is you just keep playing football, and there's a way to win every game, and you don't make a judgment about the game when things happen in a series. You don't make a judgment about the season based on what happens in the early part or the middle part of it. You just got to keep playing ball because scenarios play out, and all of a sudden you're there. And so there's this hopefulness that you have to keep trying to find your best football. And that's what I learned from Coach Carroll, was to be optimistic about what could happen. Can you dream a little bit here, regardless of what's happening, in the different parts of the season? Can we just keep getting our football better? And that's the biggest approach that I try to apply to our group here too.
You mentioned hope a few weeks ago when you guys beat the Bucs about the hope and belief, and that's what that game kind of gave you. How big is that this time of the year to have that hope going into the last game for keeping, I guess, the people's thoughts and everything else positive and everything?
It really does help, and playing meaningful games all the way through the stretch. Last year, I think it was 5 games. Did we have 5 games where we were out of playoff contention last year? And even in those moments, it's a different approach at that point. You're not playing for playoffs, but the bottom line is you're playing for pride. And we work so hard all year, really all off season. During the summer, the guys are training for a full football season, and all of us understand that. As we were in that mode, continuing to build our team, finding really good football that we can count on. Every single game matters. Every single series matters for our team as we become us and find our identity. This year, with all these games, really just, for over a month now, it's been such a rich environment in the building to know that we're playing for this division. Win the first championship first. That's got to be the focus, and we have that opportunity in front of us.
How do you weigh the Rob Hunt decision, and is it this week, is it next week, or are there concerns about him not being ready at all?
He had another great day. We were able to give him more. We got to push him a little bit more tomorrow as well. It's a collective part, first and foremost, making sure that the injury, that the strength and support is around his full upper body to be able to handle, what's a violent game. And so we're trying to simulate some of those things for him so that he has confidence to be able to do that. And we'll have a couple more days to look at that to make a decision for this week. And then we got to see, what happens. So I wouldn't say today, yes, Rob's going, but I think that today was a promising step in the right direction.
When Bryce is asked about patterns or anything else, he'll always say, "I never look back." Is his ability to compartmentalize unique?
I think it's something that gives Bryce the ability in the flow of a game. What I've noticed about Bryce is he doesn't get hung up on things that happen. He moves on, and that's a really special trait to have. It's really important, for the big picture, especially when you're standing in front of the group, that this drive is going to be a touchdown drive. This next play is going to be a big one. To have that kind of salesmanship, it's really important for the quarterback to have that. And I see Bryce just step into the huddle with confidence every single play as if this is the best play that coach has ever called, and it's great to have that support, but it does give the guys a lot of confidence going into it.
Do you, given the implications of this game, do you go a little deeper into your bag when you're game planning this week? A
little bit, but at the same time, I have to be aware of what our guys can handle, and that's really my biggest responsibility, Brad and I, is identifying the scope of what we can handle from a football standpoint with this group. How much run game can we handle? How much pass game? How many little wrinkles and nuances? Because all those things, even when you're running plays that have several different motions and, you're trying to get a defense in a specific look and all that, those take a lot of timing, a lot of detail, and they're different. They're different than the normal calls that you would make. So they require as much, if not a little bit more attention. And so you got to be careful about how much you try to do extra. The goal is to play fast. And I know that the best way to play fast is to have concepts that we're very confident with, that we're very comfortable with. And that gives us the best chance to have success.
On that note, I don't think we got to ask you about this Sunday. You used Mitchell Evans on a quarterback sneak. What does that add to your offense?
It's just really good to have a sneak play. And, up until this point, we've really leaned on, Chuba and Rico with our dive plays, our belly plays, some actions off of those things, toss cracks, bootlegs, play action passes, just trying to, sometimes we'll spread it out and go 11 personnel. So just trying to have variety. But, when it's less than a yard, it's half a yard, it's 6 inches, it's good to have a sneak play. We've been working on it for a while now. And, Mitch was just getting a comfort level of it. And I think we talked about this before, but there's a lot that goes into the sneak play, the timing of the snap, the guys firing off on the ball the right way, and then the quarterback being able to brace himself so he doesn't take that initial impact. Because if you go too quickly, you can get knocked back with an initial charge from the defense. But if you give yourself an element of space and time, then your momentum adds to the center's momentum and the guards, and then so the whole thing kind of times up the right way, and that takes practice. And the quarterbacks around the league and the tight ends more and more now are getting really good at that part of it. And I felt confident enough to give us a chance to do that one, and I was glad it worked out for us.
With the way that you use McMillan at X, Z's probably going to be one of your more fluid wide receiver positions. We've seen kind of the last couple of weeks Jimmy get a little bit more run than than he typically had and execute a little bit less. How much is that setting up other plays and maybe other looks than you haven't shown on film prior? And how much is that trying to evolve the passing game just as you head into the postseason?
It's really just all about creating things that start the same, start the same but end up different, and trying to give a little bit, just a moment of hesitation for the defense to have to deal with something. And Jimmy, he's so fast, and you can do a lot of things with him on the perimeter. That's where he makes a lot of his yards and a lot of his plays, and so teams have to respect that. And it's really good because you make the defense cover the width of the field, and we're in condensed splits some. We have some wide splits, and when you get Jimmy going that way, it does kind of spread it out a little bit for the run game and the pass game. And Xavier, just putting him in spots, trying to play to the strength of different guys and making sure we're utilizing all the talent that we have.
We'll do a couple more. We'll do Joe. We'll do Darren.
Would you consider Isaiah Simmons at inside linebacker?
He's been training at safety, and so he does have a little bit of a dime linebacker role that he's been preparing for. You only get so many guys on game day, so they all have to be able to contribute, if something happens. But, he's been really dialed in, with Ronaldo Hill, our safeties coach, and he's been studying that stuff to be able to help us out if we need him to.
You talk about development a lot in terms of whether it's rookies or backups or coaches too. When did that become such a point of emphasis for you? Where'd you learn that, I guess, and how do you try to implement it?
Yeah, that was straight from Coach Carroll, and what I learned early on is the best way to elevate everyone is to have a developmentally minded group, organization in general, and certainly with the players, and making sure that we see guys, we're exposing them to different things and help them take the next steps for their career. But then when you talk about the coaches, giving, especially for some of the assistants, giving the assistants opportunities to present. And we've done that, throughout our Wednesdays. We have fundamental presentations on Wednesdays, and we've had a rotating group of coaches, from our quality control coaches to position coaches and coordinators, to get up in front of the whole team, in front of the room, and teach a basic fundamental part of football. And it can be mindset, it can be footwork, hand placement, different things, tackling. We've had some great presentations this year, and it's a great opportunity for those guys to stand up there, to have confidence and to work on their craft, because they will be called someday to stand up in front of a room, be confident, and be able to deliver a message. And on top of that, it's also important to make sure that the staff has roles in the game plan, becoming an expert. And that's kind of how I started was, I started off with having 4-minute offense, backed up offense, and empty. And that was kind of like my specialty. So I just threw myself at it in between all the other tasks that I had to do. And when you do well, then the coach go, okay, why don't you take third and short also? Great. And you just start adding responsibilities, try to do a great job, have ideas. And that's what we try to give our guys here, skin in the game. And then what happens is we just have a really well-rounded staff, and it eliminates groupthink, because then you get fresh ideas. You get, oh, shoot, I didn't think about that play in this area. So we love doing that, and our guys have done a great job.
You remember the first one of those you did?
I remember a couple of 4-minute passes. They might not be the most exciting plays, but, Spider 2 Y Banana, we didn't call it that, but basically those were the types of plays I was coming up with. We used the fullback a lot in Seattle, so I would try to find a way to get the fullback free in the flat. Do we rub the inside linebacker, or can we send 2 guys up, different looks, and try to find the best access? So, it starts off pretty simple, but, first time one of those hits in a game, you get a first down, get down in a 4-minute scenario. It's a special moment. I remember Derek Coleman. We had built kind of a designer run. Derek Coleman caught a flat for about 3 yards, slid down. We were taking knees, and I couldn't be more proud, to be able to have an impact on the game, even in a small way that way.
Coach, Chuba Hubbard hasn't had the production that anyone anticipated this year, and they had a fumble on Sunday. Can you speak to his continued leadership in the locker room and just how he's handled the season?
Chuba's an absolute stud. He's one of the leaders of our group. I lean on him for mentality, to make sure that we're in the right place, we're focused. He certainly just challenges the whole group by how he works and how he prepares. I love Chuba. Going to give him the ball some more, and find ways for him to impact the game, because he's just a guy that I really trust. And that whole room, really, Bernie's done a great job. They're a bunch of tough guys. They do the dirty work when we ask them to, and they're available for us, all along, this season, especially the way we want to run the ball. So.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Bryce, there was someone, I forget who, said after that game that before Dave even got into the locker room that you and Derek addressed the team and like, let's move on, let's not even talk about it. Why did you think that was important?
Yeah, in this league, you just got to turn the page. Have everything in front of us. We're grateful for the circumstance, for the opportunity. We watched the film. We came back. We grew. But you got to turn the page. It's all about the Bucks this week.
You're even keel, try to stay the same, but given the playoff implications this week, is there a little more? Are you a little excited about this one?
I'm always excited. I'm super grateful for the opportunity. Anytime you get to play football, it's a blessing. And obviously, being able to play for what we're playing for, that means a lot, of course. I'm proud of this group for being here. We're excited for the opportunity. But end of the day, it's football. Right now, it's Tuesday, so Wednesday for our normal schedule. So we're focused on what normal Wednesdays look like, making sure that we can maximize all that. Coach talks about being process-oriented all the time. So pushing all that to the side, it's just about having the best week we can right now.
Bryce, what did you think about the Falcons beating the Rams?
Focus on the Bucks.
You don't like having a second chance if you don't win that game?
I'm not sure. I didn't know that or know what that is. We want to go 1-0. Again, hypothetical, whatever it is, that's what it is. But we're just focused on trying to go 1-0.
Piggybacking off of that, knowing that if you guys don't win on Saturday, there's still a chance on Sunday. I know you say you're not paying attention to the playoff implications or anything like that, but how do you guys stay hyper-focused and not kind of fall back on we still have a chance even if it doesn't get done on Saturday? How important is it to not even consider that?
Yeah, Coach talks about, he's been talking about for a while, just it being championship opportunities, and we take that to heart. It's nothing that's different for us. Again, we want to go 1-0. We know the importance of it. This is the most important game of the year because the next one. And then, obviously, and for us, we take pride in, we know that we can control it. So, we want to go 1-0. That's all that matters. it's easy to focus on that, easy to focus on the process. So, that's what it's all about in the locker room.
Chuba Hubbard hasn't had many touches that anyone anticipated this year. What kind of teammate has he been, and what kind of teammate is he?
Same teammate Chuba's always been. He's such a key. He's one of the heartbeats of this team, of this organization. The way that he works, the way that he carries himself. He's always been one of our leaders since I've gotten here. And he's a great teammate. He has a great relationship with all the guys here. He's someone that you always see in the locker room after practice. After when a lot of people are gone, he's doing. He's playing on the ping pong table with someone. He's having a conversation about something that's not football related with guys. That's just the type of guy he is. He's in the halls talking to people. He's always been a huge part of us as a team, as an organization. He's always been a cornerstone since I've been here. So that hasn't changed.
Game planning for a team you just played a couple weeks ago easier or harder?
There's pros and cons. There's advantages and disadvantages. We understand the challenge of, we have to flush the 2 weeks ago. Obviously, you watch the film and you learn from it, you grow from it. But, we have a ton of respect for our opponents. There's going to be similarities. There's going to be new wrinkles. They're going to do it's fun getting to play that chess game with a divisional opponent. They have great coaches, great players over there. We know that it's going to take everything for us to go out and try to be successful on Sunday. So, you try to balance both the familiarity and then also knowing there's going to be stuff to react to. And, at the end of the day, like Coach says, it's just about focusing on the process.
You had this similar scenario in college where you played Georgia in the conference game and then again in the Natty. What do you take from that experience in terms of seeing them a second time?
Yeah, big reach. Well, we played division opponents every time. You play a division opponent twice every time. So,
in such proximity as these two.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. That's first time thinking about that one. I don't really focus more on the NFL these days. So, again, we're just trying to go 1-0 this week.
Bryce, you obviously are even killed and stay the same, win or lose, whatever. But how does hope of making the playoffs change and what you do if you look around the locker room, but the overall demeanor of how guys are approaching this week, where they may be if this game was totally meaningless?
Yeah, honestly, I think that's one of the things I'm so proud about. It's been the same. It's guys that, this whole year, we've just had our head down, wanting to grow, wanting to build, wanting to be the best we can on Sunday. And, it hasn't been this crazy rise in focus because we haven't had this lapse in focus. I'm super proud of that as a team. And, even last year, everyone was still just so dedicated to going 1-0. Coach has done a great job in instilling that in us. It's really cool. Coach talked about in the meeting room, we don't have to go and try to be different this week. We don't have to now have a new approach because there's a meaning behind the game. We've been stressing having championship opportunities for weeks now. So it's just being consistent, continue to build and grow, and have a great week.
You talk about flush. Is it easier to flush a 300-yard game or a 150-yard game?
You're not gonna like the answer, but it's really not any different. Again, good and bad come with sports, and I think that's the maturity you have to have at this level. Coaches challenge us with it, and you really have to take it to heart. Good or bad, you feel like things went well or didn't. You have to flush it the same way. You have to have the same approach. So I've been trying to do that for a while now. So at this point, it's the same.
Who helped you with that process? I mean, is your dad, does it go back to him? Or?
Yeah, that's definitely probably one of the first people, for sure, who when I was younger was just, it's a lot easier. You get to focus on school or whatever when you're a kid, or whatever the next thing is. And then, it builds high school, college. NFL kind of builds the severity of it. It builds the, you get hear it more and more. So, that's probably, my dad was probably the first one to instill it, and then you just get more reps at it as you get older.
Right. One more question. What determines whether or not you wear the visor or not? I don't know if we've asked you that before.
Genuinely, I couldn't even tell you. I try to practice in it if I wear it, so I feel like, I guess how I feel on Wednesdays, there really is no rhyme or reason. I just sometimes wear it, sometimes don't. I like variation, I like switching things up.
Thanks, Bryce.
Appreciate you guys.